I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. We're going to start our show this morning with this historic legal decision that could have a major impact on the 2024 election.
In an unprecedented ruling yesterday, Colorado's Supreme Court disqualified Donald Trump from appearing on the state's upcoming Republican primary ballot because of his alleged role in the January 6th insurrection. It was a 4-3 decision based on a little-known provision in the Constitution, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. It's the first time that provision has been used to rule a presidential candidate ineligible for office. A spokesperson for the Trump campaign called the decision, quote, flawed, and said in part, "We will swiftly file an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court and a concurrent request for a stay of this deeply undemocratic decision. We have full confidence that the U.S. Supreme Court will quickly rule in our favor." NBC News correspondent Vaughn Hilliard and NBC News legal analyst Danny Ceballos join us now with more on this big breaking story this morning. Vaughn, let's start with you. So walk us through this ruling by Colorado Supreme Court, how it came to this decision.
Number one, this was Section 3 of the 14th Amendment was added to the Constitution after the Civil War to prevent Confederate soldiers or generals from serving in the United States Congress. And I think that that is the important context where you said that this has not been used to rule any candidate ineligible since. But what you saw from the Colorado Supreme Court, this is not the only state where this lawsuit is working its way through the courts, but they are the first to rule against Donald Trump. And in the Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, it said whoever incites, sets foot, assists, or engages in any rebellion or insurrection against the authority of the U.S. or the laws thereof, or gives aid or comfort thereto, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years, or shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. Right now, we expect Donald Trump to appeal this to the U.S. Supreme Court. Colorado, their election is on March 5th, so we should expect them to make a decision perhaps before then, but could very well happen after that as well, which would have general election implications.
Danny, let's bring you in here and talk the legal side of this. I mean, just first, what's your reaction to this ruling? Were you surprised by what we saw?
I think objectively, everybody was surprised. If you look at the numbers, virtually every other, about 18 other of these challenges have not been successful. And then you look at the court's opinion itself. It was not unanimous, not by a long shot. It was a pretty close call, and there are some pretty forceful dissents written in this opinion. So this is at the least an issue that reasonable minds, including reasonable judicial minds, disagreed on. And in fact, the opinion even lays out conveniently bullet points on its holdings at the front end of the opinion. And you can guarantee that those are going to be the bullet points that the Trump team is planning to appeal.
So, Danny, those who dissented in this Colorado Supreme Court, they basically cited due process, said, Trump has not been convicted of a crime yet. Is that something that the conservative majority of the U.S. Supreme Court might lean into if the decision is appealed? What could the U.S. Supreme Court do here?
Yes, there's that point. There's the point of, is Donald Trump, is he an officer under the meaning of the 14th Amendment? And when you just look at the text of the 14th Amendment, it's pretty amazing. They list almost every other job in the federal government, including the vice president, except the president. But then there's a catch-all phrase that says any officer who takes an oath. And that catch-all phrase, boy, those catch-all phrases in the law can really vex us. Because, again, it's the framers were simply not clear as to what they wanted. So now we're left hundreds of years later deciding whether or not, when they omitted the word president from the 14th Amendment in that section, the disqualification clause, did they mean to omit the president completely? Or are they saying, hey, look, he's included in the officer who takes an oath category, even if we didn't specifically call him out by name? That's just one example of an appealable issue, and there are many. And now the Supreme Court may decide that the Colorado Supreme Court got everything right and affirm them. But there are a lot of avenues for appeal in this case, and they'll all be looked at what's called de novo. In other words, the Supreme Court is not likely to give a lot of deference to the lower state court. And by lower, I mean the highest state court in the land of Colorado, but a lower court considering the Supreme Court.
Vaughn, let's put a pin in the appeal for a moment. Let's say this decision is upheld. What does that mean for primaries right around the corner, the election itself, and also, should it be upheld, do you think we see this happen elsewhere?
It would most likely, if the U.S. Supreme Court rules against Donald Trump, it would most likely remove him from the ballot in every state across the country. That would upend this in 2024 presidential election. And I think that's where the timing of this, the hypothetical of it, is important, because March 5th, the day of the Colorado primary, is known as Super Tuesday in the Republican primary. About 1/3 of the delegates that are going to go toward deciding who the Republican nominee is are voted on that day. It's not just Colorado voting here. And so if you're the likes of Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis, maybe you see the polling numbers, you were considering getting out of this presidential race. Well, perhaps it's worthwhile to wait around a little bit longer to see how the Supreme Court rules, because next July is when the delegates at the Republican National Convention will choose their presidential nominee. But if the Supreme Court rules that he's ineligible, everything is up in the air for the Republicans at that point.
Vaughn, Danny, thank you so much for kicking us off this hour with some breaking news. We appreciate it.
A Senate bill that would fund security at the southern border and provide billions in aid to Israel and Ukraine is going to have to wait until after the holidays.
Yeah, after hours of closed-door negotiations between lawmakers and the Biden administration, both sides say more time is needed to actually pass legislation. Passing an aid package through Congress was highly unlikely since the House of Representatives is already on holiday recess. Well, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he's optimistic negotiations will continue over the funding bill.
As negotiators work through remaining issues, it is our hope that their efforts will allow the Senate to take swift action on the National Security Supplemental early in the new year. In the time remaining this year, Senate and administration negotiators will continue to work in good faith towards finalizing their agreement.
Let's bring in NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitale and NBC News Homeland Security correspondent Julia Ainsley for the latest here. Good morning to both of you. Ali, I will begin with you. This was really considered to be a long shot effort to pass a funding bill before the Christmas holiday. When we talked yesterday, you didn't sound too optimistic. We didn't necessarily think it was going to happen. So what are we now hearing from Senate leaders as the bill has stalled, at least for now?
Look, they're trying to continue to sound optimistic notes, but it's clear that this is going nowhere fast, and certainly not before the end of the year, as Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer had initially hoped and intended for it to. That's because when they come back in January, they've got a long to-do list. But look, this was always going to be a long shot because there are a few more complicated and thorny political issues in Washington than immigration. You lump that with foreign aid, and you've got a really sticky situation. Here's more of how the Majority Leader was talking about these negotiations and where they go next.
Bipartisan border security negotiations are essential to the Senate's efforts to address critical national security priorities. Our colleagues are making encouraging progress on this front. Challenging issues remain, but we are committed to addressing needs at the southern border and to helping allies and partners confront serious threats in Israel, Ukraine, and the Indo-Pacific.
And so, look, Schumer there again, sounding optimistic, releasing that rare joint statement with his counterpart on the Republican side, Mitch McConnell, who has been clear that they need to get this money out the door to Ukraine and to Israel to continue to support our allies on the world stage. But again, all of this is wrapped up together, and it's not looking like it's going to happen before the end of the year. The Senate should be getting out of town today.
Julia, let's bring you in here. So a U.S. appeals court on Tuesday at least temporarily blocked the Biden administration from destroying a razor wire fencing that's along the U.S.-Mexico border. We know this is something that CBP, that Customs and Border Protection, wanted removed. What more should we know about this ruling and what could happen next?
Well, first I'll tell you about the wire. I've stood right there, especially right along the Rio Grande River in Eagle Pass, Texas. I've been there as hundreds of migrants are coming across. We did that very crossing. Saw over 3,000, that area saw over 3,000 just on Monday. And so what would happen is the Border Patrol would try to cut the razor wire to allow oftentimes women carrying children and people in desperate situations to get across. Texas said, no, you can't cut that wire. We put that there. We're protecting our land. So it's been this question about property rights and also what could be getting in the way of national security and Customs and Border Protection doing their job. So far, this has gone just the same way those border buoys went, where the Western District of Texas says it agrees with the Biden administration that the razor wire needs to be removed, just like the buoys were removed. But then that Fifth Circuit, very conservative appeals court, overrules that and says that, no, the Biden administration can't have these removed. Wire needs to stay where it is. Border Protection can't touch it unless there's some, extreme circumstances. It needs to stay there. And in both cases, we can expect this to go to the Supreme Court and have this showdown over really who's in control here at the southern border and whether or not Texas can put these razor wire or buoys in place.
Ali, let's turn back to Congress on this, but other issues. I mean, when they come back from the holiday break in a couple weeks, it's not just this. It's not just the border issue, which, by the way, is also tied up in this foreign aid funding. Yeah. It's also a looming government shutdown. I mean, how are both of these things going to be tackled?
It's going to be fun. I think for those of us in Congress, we know that it's going to be a busy season. And I think there's also some real skepticism about what they can actually viably get done. Because, yes, these negotiations are continuing. Our understanding is that they'll even continue today. The key negotiators are still in the room having their conversations about what this could look like. But again, even if you start the year with a strong framework that has support on the Senate side, that's nothing to say of how House Republicans will react to the bill that's ultimately brokered. They will, of course, have their own opinions on that. And then the other looming issue that actually has its own deadline is the government shutdown, which is now not going to be done in one phase, but two over the course of January and February. Our understanding from my sources is that we don't even have a top line number for appropriators to be building towards in these 12 key appropriations bills. So we're back to the drawing board on government funding as well. All of these issues are difficult for both parties, but certainly House Republicans have been vehement that they want restrictions on the border in order to go along with foreign funding. And they've been very outspoken about the idea of how the government is funded. If they don't see sufficient cuts or that dreaded word continuing resolution, if that's something that the Speaker actually seriously starts talking about, we could have a whole new set of problems that aren't even officially on the to-do list for this Congress in January.
Allie and I have different definitions of fun. All right, Allie and Julia.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Well, there is new hope this morning for a second potential ceasefire in the war between Israel and Hamas. Hamas political leaders are in Egypt to discuss how they intend to move forward. Israeli officials say they are also willing to resume negotiations for another humanitarian pause. This all comes as the U.S. faces mounting pressure to persuade Israel to change its military approach in Gaza. NBC News foreign correspondent Molly Hunter has the details.
Good morning. That's right. A couple major headlines that we are watching out of the region. Israel intensified its airstrikes in Gaza overnight. We have some new pictures coming out of the enclave. We also know from the Israeli Air Force, they say they struck Hezbollah militant targets to the north inside Lebanese territory. But the major headline we are watching very closely at this hour is a possible new deal. We know there's been mounting pressure at the negotiating table this week. The CIA director was in Poland, as we reported, meeting with Israeli and Qatari officials this week. Now, earlier this week, the White House expressed optimism, and there are already the beginning of some very optimistic reports this morning in Israeli press. NBC News has not yet confirmed any deal or anything that the two sides have agreed on yet. Now, this comes as nearly 130 hostages remain inside Gaza. We saw that video Hamas released earlier this week showing 3 elderly hostages, including on the right there, 80-year-old Yoram Metzger. Our Richard Engel spoke with his son Guy. Take a listen.
He looks very, very tired. He looks very sick, also his friends. We are really, really worried about their condition.
And this morning in Gaza, new strikes in the central city of Deir al-Balah, and the grim milestone of nearly 20,000 people killed inside Gaza since October 7th. That may be reached today, according to the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry. It is day 75. And the other thing we're really watching, especially from Washington, the spillover from this war, also a major concern for the U.S. America is now leading an effort to protect the key Red Sea shipping route against the threats from Iranian-backed Houthi militias based in Yemen. The threat so high that our colleagues actually at NBC are reporting that nearly $35 billion in cargo have been diverted. I'll send it back to you.
All right, Molly, thank you so much.
It was a final farewell for Sandra Day O'Connor, the first woman to ever serve on the Supreme Court. She was honored yesterday at Washington's National Cathedral. President Biden was one of many paying tribute to an icon who empowered generations of women. NBC News senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett has that story.
Gracious and wise, civil and principled,
President Joe Biden at Washington's National Cathedral, paying tribute to the late Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor.
the pioneer in her own right, breaking down the barriers in legal and political worlds.
The first woman to serve on the High Court, eulogized by the Chief Justice, who as a young lawyer helped her prepare for a unanimous Senate confirmation in 1981.
She had to find her own style to cajole, persuade, and unite colleagues when there was no example to follow.
O'Connor was the consensus builder on a deeply divided court, but she resisted the swing vote label.
She would say, that sounds fickle.
Her biographer recalling how she wooed her colleagues to lunch.
Not to talk about cases or argue over the law, but to get to know each other. She was the glue.
The glue for her family as well, according to her son, Jay.
She did it all, organizing the household, outstanding cooking, grocery shopping, getting the kids where we needed to be, all while still achieving extraordinary things at work.
O'Connor died earlier this month at 93, leaving detailed instructions from the speakers to today's music for her final send-off.
She also wrote her final message to her sons. Our purpose in life is to help others along the way. May you each try to do the same.
Laura Jarrett, NBC News.
What a legacy. Well, heavy rain and snow are expected to hit the West Coast thanks to a brewing weather system.
Meteorologist Angie Lastman has latest forecast. Angie, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, guys. We've got a couple things to talk about, and it comes in the form of rain, snow, and wind, and it's mainly focused on the West Coast over the next couple of days. Right now, though, we have 22 million people included in these flood alerts that are up. That bright green is a flood watch. It does include major cities of San Diego, Los Angeles, and all the way up into San Luis Obispo. This is going to be something that you see last likely through the day today, potentially into tomorrow, as we have a couple of different waves of rain working close to the California coast. Here's the deal right now. You can see the radar across the southwest. We've got some showers happening across parts of Arizona and definitely up and down the coast of California. And there's more to come. There's the system that we're going to watch inch closer to the coast here over the next 48 hours. It brings a couple periods of heavy rain. It'll bring some additional snowfall up through the Sierras and such. And by the time we get through basically Thursday and into Friday, we have the potential to see mudslides, especially on those burn scar areas, and the flooding concern. Now, that rain will eventually spread into parts of the desert southwest as we get into Friday. Late, especially, that will impact folks in southern Nevada and Arizona. So it'll be there that we'll watch for some impacts when it comes to travel as we get into Friday. But some of these places across portions of California could pick up to 10 inches of rain. So again, the mudslides and the flooding concern will be real over the next couple of days. We've got the potential for 2 feet of snow, but that mostly comes at the higher elevations, and that lasts through Friday. This is the area, though, that we're going to watch for that potential for the debris flows, like I said, in the burn scar areas, Santa Barbara, LA, right in those mountains near there. Here's the travel impacts, though. I think if you're traveling tomorrow or Friday on the roads, it's going to be the 5, the 15, those spots, maybe across portions of Arizona, Interstate 10. But then the airports, we could see some iffy conditions in Seattle and Portland because of rain, guys, but it's really those California airports that are going to have trouble, including in that Phoenix, too.
You didn't want to go home for Christmas, did you?
Stop it.
It's low.
Are you jinxing her?
Say that.
I think
I do know the 5 and the 15
right?
well, though, so it sounds like it won't be.
Those are always a mess anyway.
Exactly. Thanks so much.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.